Cultivating more positive self-talk supports our having a positive self-image of ourselves, which is quite important to continue moving through the world with a sense of energy. It's a natural antidepressant. It's a way to empower other people, right? If we fill our own cups up, then we are in overflow and able to support others. So I really hope that you're tuning into this because you know that you're meant to be here as a creator. You're here to liberate others. You're here to creatively inspire other people. You're here to be a role model in the ways that we can live and exist and move forward in a way that's maybe not commonly taught, in a way that's more expanded, expressed, etc. We are working constantly in the present moment to allow and channel more of our highest self here on earth. Hey you, I'm Anissa. Welcome to Create to Liberate. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about negative self-talk and really quieting our minds, letting go. Because oftentimes the greatest villain in our lives is ourselves, is our negative talk about ourselves, the story we tell ourselves, the drama, the ways that we drag ourselves down unknowingly. That's really stopping and inhibiting us from reaching our highest self, being our most expanded, expressed, liberated version of self. So in today's episode, we're going to go through some strategies to support you in letting that negative self-talk go so that you can return to your true eternal self, your soul, and be able to listen to the part of you that's more powerful, that has more guidance, that's supportive to your greater expansion. So if that sounds good to you, amazing, stick around. As always, I share reflection stories, experience from my personal life, as I believe we are all each other's mirrors. We provide a mirror to each other to be able to see ourselves more clearly and hopefully empower each other. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button on YouTube, subscribe to this channel. If you're listening on audio, give this episode a 5-star review. We're going to get into what is negative self-talk, which most of us are familiar with, but really going a little bit deeper, strategies to reduce that negative self-talk and really empower yourself ultimately. So many of us know what negative self-talk is broadly, but we don't know what our personal voice really sounds like. So you can be going through a day and you feel like trash at the end of the day, and you realize it's because there's been a voice inside of your head putting you down. And that voice is bespoke to you. It's uniquely catered to you, and what is going to push your buttons, what is going to be unknown and a little bit more hidden and more subvert. I know that my negative self-talk comes up in really strategic ways. I think it's definitely evolved over time, where it was more brash and harsh as I was younger. And as I've gotten older, it's found new strategies. As I become more mindful, it finds new ways to sneak up on me. And I think it's a forever process for us to become really powerful observers of our mind and our thoughts and the stories that are coming up. There's never, for most of us, a period at which it completely disappears, right? Our ego, while we're still in the human body, will always be a part of our lives, and there'll be new ruminations that arise. But the better that we get at taming our mind, the more conscious we are of these patterns, the more easy we're able to quiet these thoughts and let them pass and not let them become a huge point of focus. And so negative self-talk is our inner bully, our inner critic. It's the one who has a little bit more of a defeatist mindset, victim consciousness. It's the one that's not the optimist, not finding strategic ways to move forward, not creatively thinking. It is fearful. It is rooted in trying to keep you safe sometimes. It's rooted in comparison, envy, a lot of negative emotions, etc. And what it does is starts to move our lives in the direction of contraction, of not expressing our truth, of not really taking risks and moving forward, feeling our confidence, feeling our power in our everyday. So if you find yourself very exhausted for no reason, it might be because of this chatter in your mind that just needs to be quieted. Because sometimes we're just busy in our minds, and by quieting our minds, we regain so much energy. There's so much power and renewal in just silence. So for everyone, their negative self-talk patterns are different. For you, you might have some awareness as to things in your body, and your negative self-talk arises when it comes to physical appearance and how you're looking. For other people, negative self-talk might be wherever the wounding is, right? So it might be intellectual. Oh, I have an inferiority complex when it comes to my intellectual abilities, and I find myself not thinking I'm good enough to pursue XYZ job opportunity that's coming my way. I find ways to shrink myself, make myself smaller, and just say, oh, it'll be okay if I forego this thing. But the rumination continues. So one of the first strategies is identify for you where your soft spots are. Because once you know where your soft spots are, then you know particularly where to become your protector, right? To bring out the part of self, the protective part of self, that inner parent that says, no, I'm not having this negative bully in my mind hurt me anymore. I'm going to pay particular awareness as to where it's showing up. Maybe you have a low sense of belief around your ability to have romantic relationships, and you find yourself falling into narratives around, oh, I'm too old to find this person. Oh, it's too late for me. The ship has sailed. Oh, I don't live in the right place. It's not the right time. I have so much going on. And you find excuses, then it's time to pull out that warrior that's within you and say, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to believe and entertain these stories. I am empowered in my life, and I believe that I create and am a contributor to the reality that I would like to see. It's a co-creation with the universe in my belief, but you are a powerful contributor in things moving forward in a way that empowers you, is soul aligned. So it really helps for us to get to the root of negative self-talk. We've identified more broadly finding your soft spots, but where did those soft spots originate? So I'll go specifically for one of mine. I used to have definitely inferiority around my IQ. It didn't matter how much I achieved. I was straight A's. I was able to work at top companies like Google. I was able to outsmart so many people in my life, and it didn't really matter. This sense of inferiority in IQ originated when I was child. It originated when I was a homeschooler, crunchy kid who somehow learned to read despite my mom not being on the ball when it came to homeschooling me. I kind of figured things out as I went along, and by the time I went to middle school, I realized how far behind I was compared to other students who went through formal schooling and public schooling. I felt very behind, and so this sense of inadequacy still stayed with me because I remember trying to catch up to the students in class, and their way of learning was different from the way that I had learned as a homeschooler kid. And for them, they had gained all of the traditional skills that empowered them to move forward in the structure. And I was always feeling this sense of catch up, even when I was no longer needing to catch up, completely reaffirmed. Didn't really matter. That kind of continued to creep up in my mind, and now I find the ways that finds its way subtly into my life. And I deeply value EQ over everything. I think us living in a world where EQ, our emotional intelligence, our heart-centeredness is put ahead of IQ is so important, and will become continually important with the rise of AI, which will outsmart us all. So for you, thinking back as to what was the origin story for this villain that exists in our mind? What is the actual origin story? Because every single villain that you see in a film or in a book, you see that they didn't get to that villainous state on their own. There were contributing factors that were very formative, oftentimes in childhood. The first 7 years of our life, early childhood development has such an impact on the way that we perceive ourselves ongoingly. And so sometimes we have to decondition by really going to that early state of entering the world and what beliefs we formed. Now we know what our soft spots are, we know where our wounds are, and we know the origin stories maybe behind them. Now what can we do with all of that awareness? Well, we can go through the practice of actually quieting our minds so that we have a blank slate and we can see those thoughts arise and be able to maybe pick them out, because we might have many thoughts arise and they're masked in all of these additional thoughts that we're having. So how can we be better detectives at being able to extract them? Well, we slow down our thinking mind. So spending time every single day, 20 minutes at least in meditation, really helps us focus on the thoughts arising in our mind and the stories that we're telling ourselves that create a narrative to ourselves of who we are. And by allowing that to be silenced for some time, to just note what comes up and let it go, to be in greater presence and in connection with our body, focusing on our breath, focusing on our heart, focusing on our spiritual heart, our hridaya, focusing on our third eye, whatever point in your physical body that helps you feel most empowered, focus on. I have some guided meditations on my YouTube channel, so definitely check those out. But the more that we're able to tune into the truth of who we are, which is just a sentient being existing, how can we have compassion for that part of self? And how can we allow more spaciousness in our mind, more slowing down, so that we can be able to observe when the bully starts to interfere and has its thoughts jamming up into our minds. It also might support you to have contemplative practices like writing, reflection, asking yourself why, doing some level of visualization, and self-therapizing. Maybe it's actually speaking with a counselor or within a group setting and be able to talk about some of the things that are arising for you. And then how do we balance out that negative self-talk? We counterbalance it with positive affirmations. Sometimes the affirmations can be a bit extreme. Maybe it's too optimistic, I've been told, where maybe you say, I'm fat, and that's what your bully is saying, and then you're saying, no, I'm skinny. Maybe that's not the truth. So what is the more true affirmation? If the bully says I'm fat, maybe you say, I'm healthy and I'm working to strengthen my body every single day by going to the gym. That's like the most beautiful way to quiet the inner critic, is by leaning on the truth of, actually, I'm healthy. I'm working on my body and my physique. Thanks for noticing. Goodbye. And if it comes up to like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, just say, I'm a curious person who always figures things out. I'm deeply competent. The end. It doesn't always have to be the most affirmative, positive affirmation for it to be effective. It just has to be truthful. And the truthful part of it can be grounded. It doesn't have to be the most optimistic thing, but its positivity is in believing in possibility. That's more truthful than leaning into contracted closed-mindedness. Cultivating a more positive self-talk supports our having a positive self-image of ourselves, which is quite important to continue moving through the world with a sense of energy. It's a natural antidepressant. It's a way to empower other people, right? If we fill our own cups up, then we are in overflow and able to support others. So I really hope that you're tuning into this, because you know that you're meant to be here as a creator. You're here to liberate others. You're here to creatively inspire other people. You're here to be a role model in the ways that we can live and exist and move forward in a way that's maybe not commonly taught, in a way that's more expanded, expressed, etc. We are working constantly in the present moment to allow and channel more of our highest self here on earth. There's ways to affirm to ourselves also our strengths and accomplishments. And that doesn't have to be in the egoic way. I think my default when I was younger was definitely more egoic, to lean on how much money I had, or lean on my ability to get XYZ thing, person, partner, opportunity. And those things can become more fleeting as far as a steady ground for us to build our character off of. Stronger place is to focus on qualities that you really love about yourself. Maybe you're an amazing connector. You're a person who puts people in touch, and you have a wide network of people that you connect, and you love the way that you form threads of interest between people. You're like, oh, I heard about this person who's actually might be helpful for you in this reason, and that person might need a place to stay, and you're that person in somebody's life. For me, one of my favorite traits about myself is that I really see the beauty and the potential, and I'm such an optimist and believer in others. What qualities do you love about yourself? What qualities do your friends really appreciate about you? Why do they come to you? Why do they maintain you as a friend in their life? What are some of those qualities that you can love more within yourself? Because those qualities might be your great strengths. So my quality of believing in others is why I have this as my outlet, speaking to you, reminding you of your inner power. And then really, finally, when it comes to working to quiet our inner critic so that we can have more love and more self-compassion and positive self-image, comes with actually giving ourselves forgiveness and compassion. The love and the forgiveness that we extend to others, we also have to give back to ourselves. In these moments that we're very critical and maybe we act from that place, or we're very in a low vibe place and we make motions from that, how can we forgive ourselves? How can we look back on the ways that we've wronged people, harm that we've created, and have some forgiveness for it so it's not haunting us? We're in a different place today than we were historically. Can you believe in that more? Can you offer more compassion to yourself for the ways that you are growing? Maybe that bully is really good at finding these soft spots in you. How can you heal those soft spots? How can you bring some more love and infuse those soft spots with more belief, more affirmation. If it's an insecurity in your body, how can you love that part of your body a little bit more? If it's an insecurity in your mind or psyche, how can you bring more love to that part of yourself? How can you tell yourself stories that are more creative than your inner critic could ever come up with? Do you deserve to have love in your life, to have more connection in your life, to have greater success? Finally, why quieting the inner critic matters. This life, this temporary human experience in front of you, and you deserve for it to be fulfilling. You deserve for it to be enriching. You deserve for it to be the most amazing possible experience that you could have, because we're going to die. And I love to meditate on my death personally because it reminds me of how I want to live in the present. I want to live as a source of empowerment for others. I want other people to feel so liberated and empower other people. And it's a ripple effect of us being lights and igniting more lights in other people. And it's a beautiful time at which to witness this. When you let go of that negative self-talk, you make more space to live that expression of your highest self. It's also a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more that you have belief in your abilities, the more likely you are to achieve the things that you wanted to achieve, the more likely you have the relationships and connections that you believe that you're deserving of, because oftentimes it's said that we accept the love that we think we deserve through the law of attraction. So how can you believe in the expanded, amazing possibilities rather than the leftover scraps? How can you have the belief that the amazing relationship that you desire is entering your life rather than you're going to have to settle for someone? How can you believe that the job that you're most excited about, the career path that you're most excited about is coming into your life because you're cultivating the skills towards that rather than you have to settle because AI is going to take your job? How can you continue to maintain a level of self-belief and narrative that affirms the direction that you want your life to take, because it will start to move in a direction that is in alignment with your beliefs as well. When folks receive things that they don't feel deserving of, they often lose them. And so you might be like, hey, Nisa, I've seen people who receive things that don't have the self-belief attached to them. And oftentimes those people lose those things or lose themselves. Are those things that we're calling in aligned with our highest self? Are they deeply truthful? Is it going to positively impact ourselves, others, the planet? Coming back to that might help you put yourself into greater alignment. I'm wishing you so much love in quieting your mind in this week ahead. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe on YouTube, rate it 5 stars if you're listening on audio. I appreciate you being here, and I'm sending you so much love, and you're deserving of it.